Hi, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Tonight we have a very special topic. It's about abnormal cells that are malignant. And I just wanted to bring this one on as a little guest. She was diagnosed, with malignant cells 3.5 years ago. And they said, oh, she's going to maybe live a couple hours, maybe a couple weeks. She's doing great. But anyway, and animals don't know anything about placebos. Anyway, let's talk about what is in this beautiful bottle. I just love it. So they call it the ASEA Redox Cell Signaling Supplement. Supplement really is not the right word. Supplement means something that your body doesn't make, that you take, and in theory, it should help you feel better. This is better than a supplement. It is a bioreplenishment. Let me just adjust something on my screen here. And so your mitochondria are making this every single moment of the day. I tell people you could maybe go for 3 weeks without food, or 3 days without water, or 3 minutes without oxygen. You cannot, oh my gosh, I'm seeing all my friends show up here. This is so fun. You can't last 3 seconds without your redox signaling molecules. They're so fundamental in the healing process. And you make a ton of them when you're little. But once you get into your 20s, you make about 10% less every single decade that you age. And that explains why older people in general have more health challenges or take longer to recover than younger people. You know, if a little kid falls, it's generally not a big deal. But if a 90-year-old falls, like, uh-oh, it's because they don't have as many redox signaling molecules as they used to. And they work in a number of ways. They help your cells communicate. So they amplify and they clarify signals between and within cells. So they're just talking to each other better. Kind of wakes up the inner doctor in your cells and make them go like, oh, there's something that we should be working on. There's something that we should be dealing with. And it boosts your antioxidants in a big, big, big way. We have a number of studies that have recently come out from the UK and also Australia, where the NRF2 pathway is upregulated. That's a big detox pathway. And as a result, you're making so much more glutathione, so much more superoxide dismutase. You don't need to know what these words are, but just know that your immune system is going to be so fortified with these antioxidants. I tell people I haven't had to buy Kleenex since 2016 when I started this. And I used to catch every cold there was. I was such a germaphobe way back when. And what else? Turns on genes for your cardiac system, your immune system, your inflammatory system, your digestive system, and your hormone modulation. So it just empowers your cells to work better and heal faster. And every single health challenge involves cells. So people are like, hey, is it good for this? Is it good for that? All you have to do is think, is a cell involved? For those people who really want nerdy science, I laugh when people say, is there any real science? Yes, there was 6 Nobel Prizes won so far in the field of redox. And I like to direct people to go to a couple of websites. There's one called pubmed.gov. This is where doctors and scientists will publish their double-blind, placebo-controlled studies and just do a search for the word redox. That's what this is. And it says on the back that by an independent company, it says redox certified. I promise you there are redox signaling molecules in here. And do a search for the word redox and then whatever health challenge that you're curious about. And tonight, I've had so many requests to talk about abnormal cells that duplicate in a very quick manner that can be kind of dangerous. And I'm sorry, I'm speaking in code because we have to be compliant and make it very clear that ASEA is not making any claims that this is a cure or treatment for any medical condition, but you can connect the dots. This is redox. Do a search for redox and health challenge. And the one that we're going to be talking about tonight, I went to pubmed.gov and I typed in redox and what we're talking about. There were 28,949 articles that popped up. And then I went to Google Scholar. Don't do Google. Google's a search engine. Google Scholar is a research engine where you'll find those scientific studies. it said about 2,530,000 articles exist about redox and this particular health challenge. So, you know, some people, they like to read stuff, but other people are more visual. So, okay, here's a fun picture. Look at these scans. They're 3.5 months apart, and all of that black, abnormal cells, malignant abnormal cells. 3.5 months later, that's what the person looked like. And just so you know, with this particular kind of scan, the brain and the kidneys and the bladder are always going to show up as black. So we virtually got rid of almost all of those bad cells in 3.5 months. Here's one from my dog. This is not the little dog that you just saw. This is from my big dog, Otto, who was diagnosed with stage 4 liver and spleen abnormal cells. And the top photo, it's 3 columns, same with the bottom, but the top one, so we have low and middle and high. You want everything to be in that middle column where all of the blood work being tested is normal. He's got a whole bunch of markers that are way too low. And when the vet saw that, that prompted her to do an emergency ultrasound. And then she told me the diagnosis, and she said, you should just put him down because he is not going to live more than 2 hours anyway. This is the kind and noble thing to do. And it's like, no. And I brought him home and I gave him the ASEA. And I gave him a bottle a day. He was 96 pounds. He's a big dog and one of the loves of my life. So I was just going to do everything I could. So every day he got a bottle of this. And it was kind of funny when I first gave it to him, he looked at me kind of like one of my people might look at me with such skepticism. And he just had this look like, really, really, you want me to drink this? But I put it in a bowl, make sure that it's plastic or glass. You don't want to put it in a metal bowl. They're highly reactive molecules and they'll turn back into salt water if they react with metal, but it depends on surface area. So if you have some metal fillings in your mouth, it's really no big deal. But for an animal, put it in a glass or plastic bowl. And he had like one little lick of it, and then his body knew that he just wanted it. And he had the entire 32 ounces all at once. And wow, is he getting better? And so I gave him a bottle a day for a week, and then I gave him a half a bottle a day for the next week. And then he was so good, I just gave him some whenever I remembered to. But 1 month later, I brought him back to the vet, and I wanted to know what was going on with his blood because he seemed really good to me. And you can see exactly 1 month later, it was perfect. And I carry those blood test results with me. I have them laminated. I show people because it is empirical evidence and animals don't know anything about placebo. And he lived for years. Let me show you a couple more. Ooh, this is a good one. So this woman had abnormal cells in her mouth. The difference between those 2 photos, it's just 3 days. And what she did was every hour that she was awake during those 3 days, she'd swish the Redox in her mouth. So there's a picture. And I think I'll show you one more. If I can find it. Oh, I think it might be this one. This guy had some funky cells on his head. For years and years and years, he used the Renew 28, which is the topical version. It's the exact same product as this, only more concentrated. And in 19 days, much, much, much better. And so how about we talk about, let's talk about why this works. So the actual definition of a malignant abnormal cell is one that doesn't have redox signaling molecules in it. And you know, we all probably have quite a few of those. We've got 75 trillion cells in us, roughly. There's bound to be some that are misbehaving or getting old, getting wonky, and that's really okay because we have lines of defenses. And the first one is the redox signaling molecules. They should be in that cell, and again, they are the communication system for your cell, and they're supposed to tell your cell like, hey, there's something that's just not right here. And your cell is supposed to get that message, and then it has 2 to 4 hours to repair itself. And if it doesn't, it is supposed to self-destruct. and that's known as apoptosis or cellular suicide. It sounds like a morbid concept, but I promise you, such a beautiful thing. You want the bad cells to go away, right? And so there was actually a Nobel Prize won in 2016 for the study of this, apoptosis and redox. And so anyway, that's your first line of defense. Your second line of defense is the neighboring cells are supposed to lend a hand. And so they're supposed to get that message from those redox signaling molecules that like, hey, Bob's in trouble over here. We got to go help. The analogy that I like to use is imagine your house is burning down and there's the fire station and they've got all the things to help you. They've got the tools, the water, the truck, the people. But if they don't get that message, if they don't hear that someone's in trouble, then they don't do anything. You know, they just kind of coexist and nothing happens. They don't know that they're needed to go to the rescue. And then your third line of defense is your immune system. And it's only when all three systems fail that the abnormal cells can get out of control. My own experience is I had this product back in 2016. I had so many health challenges. Every day, basically, I would just want to get my kids off to school, and then I would go on a quest to find some practitioner, someone who could help me feel better. And really, I just wanted to be a better mom. That's all I wanted. I just wanted to be able to play with my kids. And one doctor luckily said, I got this stuff. I don't like how it tastes. It's about to expire and something, and I don't know if it even works, but something's telling me that you might want to give it a try. So that was his endorsement / non-endorsement. And he's like, it makes your cells work better in theory. I had it. I was like, wow, this is fantastic. I just had more energy. I was sleeping better and I could play with my kids. That's all I wanted. And, but things got better 1 month into it. All my allergies vanished. So I don't need an EpiPen. And 2 months into it, I went into the hospital every single 3 months for a 9-year period. I would go to the hospital, Dartmouth Hitchcock, and they would just remove really big chunks from my body because if there was a funky mole, it was life-threatening and they would want to have really wide margins and go very deep. So I was just covered head to toe with scars. And I went in 2 months after starting this and I thought, well, it's time for surgery. It always was. And they couldn't find anything. And they even called in another doctor from the hallway and they said, we need another pair of eyeballs because there's got to be something on her. And I have been good ever since. So it just, it just clears up cellular communication and kind of tells your cells, get to work. This is really what you're supposed to be doing. So that was my story. You met my little dog who was diagnosed with some abnormal cells 3.5 years ago. She's fine. My dad, he's a funny one. He didn't want any of this. He thought it was snake oil. No, thank you, he said, or he chose other words. And I gave him some of this. I gave him some of this. I had a spray bottle where I just poured this into a spray bottle so he could just have this topically. And he was all cranky and he said, my pantry is valuable real estate. I don't want anything taking up space on my pantry shelves. And I'm like, come on, Daddy, you don't have to keep it in your pantry. This is non-negotiable. You're going to have it. He didn't use it. A month later, he had developed a condition with his foot where there was a lot of inflammation. It was discolored. He had some crystals in there, very painful. He sent a picture of his foot to his doctor. I don't know if he even knew that I was getting it also. I was his medical advocate, so I got looped into all the communication. And I called him up and I'm like, oh my gosh, Daddy, put the gel on right now. And he's like, oh, honey, I don't know what I did with that stuff. And I'm like, oh, Daddy, okay, do you have the spray? It's less concentrated, but it's still good. Can you spritz your foot? He knew where that was. He sprayed his foot. And while we were on the phone, he's like, you're not going to believe this, but I can wiggle my toes. And I said, I do believe it. You see how that heals you from the outside in. Will you please just agree to drink this stuff and heal from the inside out? So he did. And within 1 month, his abnormal cells in his colon were gone. And my very favorite testimonial in this arena, I think, involves my friend Theo, who back then I was just introduced to this guy at an event and his shoulder hurt. And I was like, I can help you with that. So I gave him a big gabagoo And I said, here, just put this on your shoulder. And he didn't seem like he really wanted to have any kind of sales pitch or spiel. But I just wanted to help him. Put some on your shoulder. And then I went off and started talking to other people. And he came up and he's like, what is that? My shoulder doesn't hurt anymore. And so I kind of explained, well, it's better than all natural. It's native to your cells. Your mitochondria make it. It helps your cells communicate, boosts your antioxidants, and turns on those 5 genes. And it just empowers your cells to work better. And so he's just like, well, do you have a tube? And I started to whip out my little computer and said, I can order some for you. And he's like, no. I'm not going to tell you my name. I'm not going to give you any information to put in the computer. If you just have a tube, I will buy it from you. Luckily, I did. So that happened. Wasn't sure I'd ever hear from him again. And then a week later, he's like, I think I want a subscription. And I'm like, okay. And then 2 weeks later, he called me. He's like, I want to do the business. This is the most amazing stuff. And he shared with me that he's a professional dancer. With his shoulder, he struggled with his shoulder for over a year. He was not able to lift his dance partner up over his head. From that one application, he could that night. And then he said, I wonder if this could help my mother-in-law. And I said, whatever she has going on, does it involve cells? And he's like, yeah. And so he shared with me that she had a stage 4 condition. And he said, it's, we get to have her for 2 years. That's what the doctors say. And he had a lot of gratitude about that. But he kept talking and he said, well, she hasn't eaten anything in 3 weeks. And she hasn't had anything to drink in several days. So she's in the hospital because she's dehydrated. And oh, yeah, her kidneys are failing. And I'm like, oh boy. And he was so lackadaisical about it. I'm like, may I please speak with your wife? Thinking that she would take more massive action. And so he's like, sure. I went over to their house and I gave her, some of this, a spray bottle. And I said, will you please just take this to your mom? And she said, well, she is going to live for another 2 years. So you can relax. She's okay. We get her for 2 more years. But, no, she's not going to be able to drink this because she's not able to swallow at this point. And I said, okay, take the spray bottle and just spray her tongue and take the gel. And back then I was trained to say, put it around your ears, on your neck, and on the bottom of your feet. Your body just absorbs the molecules really well from those areas. And then the molecules get absorbed and they go wherever they need to go. So that happened. And then she went to the hospital and was told, a mom only has 2 hours to live, not 2 years, 2 hours. And they started hospice. And I thought, oh boy, this is going to be the first person I'm ever going to lose. And I just didn't get to her in time. But anyway, the daughter, she sent me this beautiful text that night. And she said, thank you for making these last few moments with my mom so meaningful and special, because we're talking, she's coherent, we're laughing, she's not really in that much discomfort. She still thought she was going to die in a couple of hours because that's what the doctor said. But anyway, and she's like, she really loves the spray bottle. She just keeps spraying. And so that night, went to bed, woke up super early in the morning, and I just had the intuition like, oh my goodness, she needs this in her belly button. And normally I would never call anybody except people in my family and maybe Beth before 7 o'clock in the morning. But I did. And I called the daughter and I was just like, get it in her belly button. And they did. And that afternoon, the woman started eating and drinking, and she got out of bed and she took 2 laps around her little pod. And that was on a Thursday. The following Monday, she walked out of the hospital with a big list of, it was in December, a big list of what she expected her children to make for her Christmas feast. And then I got adopted into that family. I get to go to all the birthday parties and have all the fun. And something that happened at one of the parties was I was being introduced to all the grownups as, here's the pool water lady, because it tastes like swimming pool water. If it does, that means you have inflammation in your body. And so that's how people introduce me. I'm okay with that. It's better than being known as the rat lady. I'm also referred to as that because people in ASEA just know that I saved a rat from rat poison one time, which is a whole other story. So, pool water lady, that's an upgrade from the rat lady. But then one small child came up to me and said, "Are you the cell regeneration lady?" And I'm like, "Well, yes, I like that title. You can call me that." And anyway, so I crossed paths with this individual. December 17th is when I learned about her and her diagnosis. May 3rd, just May 3rd. So less than 5 months. She did not have any more abnormal cells. So there you go. I think that's all I have to say about that topic, unless people have questions. Is there anything I can help with? Does anybody want to raise their hand and ask me anything? Or how can I help? Sonia.
I have a question about how you put it on. So you said, can you hear me? Sorry.
I can hear you. Thank you.
Okay. So like my dad has like kidney issues. Would you put it on that area, or would you put it just on the
Absolutely.
neck, or like?
Everything. So yes, the neck, the ears, the bottom of the feet. Now, because of this woman, because of Theo's mother-in-law, ASEA, their protocol is get it around the belly button because you just have so many capillaries there. It makes complete sense that you would do that. But yes, of course, put it on your kidneys, put it wherever it makes sense. These little molecules, they're only 2 to 4 atoms big. They get absorbed, they go where they need to go. And back in Australia, when, first 2009, this came out, I think it was 2014, this came out. And in Australia back then, we would not ship them this. The cost for shipping was so prohibitive, but we could send them this. And they had the most miraculous testimonials just from this. It's the same product, just more concentrated.
So if
Um,
somebody has like an allergic reaction, I have a client who says she gets itchy just sometimes. Should she only put it on when she has the reaction, or should she put it on all the time to avoid the reaction?
okay, so she's not saying that she's allergic to this,
Oh,
right?
no. Like
Okay.
that's just her symptom is hives or like itchiness, like at
It's
nighttime.
completely up to her. Does she want to be proactive or reactive? So if you want to be reactive, sure, use it when you have a situation. Makes me think of my husband who was mowing the grass and he ran over a hornet's nest. And I looked out the window. I didn't know anything about the hornets. I just saw him running around like one of the Three Stooges. And he came in and he's like, quick, give me medicine. I gave him this. And he's like, this was years ago when he didn't understand how great this is. He's like, no, I want real medicine. And so I'm like, okay, you can use that junk from your medicine cabinet on half your body. I get the other half. And so I put this on half his body, and within minutes, he's like, give it to me for my whole body. And that night, not a single hive. I don't think I have anybody who still has allergies who chooses to drink this and just be proactive. With me, my allergy was so strong that it really impacted the entire community. I was so allergic to chocolate that if somebody's having a cookie somewhere, my throat would close up. As PTA president of my kids' school, one time I walked in and somebody was having a cookie, I had an anaphylactic reaction. And the principal said, okay, there's a ban on chocolate. It was entirely my fault that 300 kids could not have chocolate between the hours of 9 and 3 o'clock on weekdays. The whole town knew about it. It was all my fault. But being on this after a month, we can eat anything we want. No fear, no limits. So it's completely up to her, proactive or reactive. Thank you for your question, Sonia. Karis.
Hi, Laura. Okay, so the other day we talked about my son-in-law with Alzheimer's,
Ooh, we're not
and
naming any
oh,
diseases.
sorry.
Maybe we'll just stop the,
I'm sorry.
that is totally okay. So, Beth, when we have this recording, we'll just stop after my thing, and then is that okay with you, Beth? And then we'll just clip this as a recording. And now, well, just in case I've been warned that there could be a secret shopper. So we're just going to say we don't make any claims for to cure or treat, but continue.
Laura, I'm so sorry.
No worries, no worries.
On the realredox.com,
RealRedoxResults.com.
results.com. Okay,
And the
I knew I
password is
had,
Redox, all lowercase,
okay.
Redox.
I just had to verify that.
Sure.
And then my daughter wishes she could be, she's an RN and she's working the night shift, so she's not able to join us tonight. But her husband, like I said, and then they take care of his father-in-law that has full blown. She's wondering, she just needs to start him on the Redox to help.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I told her too, but I thought I told her I'd bring it up again.
Yeah. It's so good for memory issues. And one of the things it does is it turns on gene EGR1, and that opens up all these other pathways. One of that is for the brain-derived neurotrophic factor. So people remember better, think better, learn better. I know somebody who has a condition, it's a neurological condition, different from what you're explaining, but he would have tremors. It was hard for him to walk in a steady way. And just from one application of the gel on the back of his neck, he didn't even know his wife was doing that on a Friday afternoon. The whole following weekend, he didn't have short-term memory issues, and he didn't need to take a nap, and his gait changed. He was hopping and skipping, she said, instead of shuffling along. It's really remarkable. But yes, everything involves cells, and this makes your cells work better.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. Dee Dee. Oh, now I don't see it.
I just put it in the chat because I'm afraid to ask.
Oh, I
Just
see.
look.
So when you have discomfort in your head,
Yes, discomfort in the head. Yes, that's exactly.
put it where you think it needs to go. So wherever the discomfort is, but also it's really helpful on the neck. And so I would do, people are like, should I use this? Should I use this?
Right, that's what I'm asking.
I would use both. This really helps you on a systemic level, and this really targets the discomfort immediately. With my friend Theo, he said that just from the gel, it was about 90%, all better. But as soon as he added this, it was like he had never had that health challenge before.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah, but I also always say, let your intuition guide you. Your body has innate wisdom. Do whatever you're drawn to do. You can't go wrong.
Got it. Cool. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome, Dee Dee and Cindy. Cindy, you're muted.
Yes, hi. I think my question was already answered in the chat.
Okay.
What I wanted to know is, could I add anything in the beginning to help with the taste? What
Um,
the oils, whatever.
No, you don't want to add anything. I mean, somebody was asking me today about like their dog refuses to drink it. I have one dog that would love the drink. Another was just like, no, I'd like some gel, please. But I do know people who, there was one guy where his wife was having memory issues in a severe way, and he started adding it to her coffee. At ASEA, we say, no, don't mix it with anything. It's going to compromise the efficacy. Well, gosh, she got her memory back. And the first thing that he noticed was he called home, and normally it was the nurse who would always answer the phone. She answered the phone and seemed completely lucid. So people have success, but it's going to work better if you don't mix it with anything. But the idea is get it into your body. And if it's going to make you gag because you don't like the flavor, do what you need to do. My father used to love to keep this in the refrigerator. So if you chill it, it kind of reduces the intensity of the flavor, and that will not compromise the efficacy. You can freeze it. You can have it sit in a hot car for days. it's not going to compromise the efficacy of it. So chilling it will help with reduce the flavor, and also you can drink from a pouch. It's the same product. These are just hand filled, and there's a one-way valve. It says 8 ounces. Honestly, they put a little bit more in there. They always want to over deliver with this company. There's a one-way valve. And so if you can't smell it, like if you pour this in a glass, you're going to kind of smell it because your nose is in there with your, the rest of your face. And, and if you can't smell it, then you're not going to taste it as much. But if it tastes bad, that just means your person really, really needs it. The worse it tastes, I'm sorry, the more you need it. It's an indication of the degree of how off balance the reductants and oxidants are in your body. And that's how we have the word redox. It's a combination of reductants and oxidants. If it tastes like pool water, which is what it does for most people, there's inflammation. If it tastes like metal, there's an infection. This will draw toxins out, and it can take on the flavor of that. So somebody one time was just like, oh, there's ammonia in there. I'm like, no, there's no ammonia. But she grew up on a farm around pesticides, and she could taste that coming out of her.
Hmm.
I hope that helped you.
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Cindy. And Barbara Stolz.
And Laura, great program tonight. How much time before or after drinking ASEA do you suggest people wait until they drink or eat anything else?
So it's a little hard to hear you, but I think you were saying how much time before and after to like have food or anything else. I think you know the answer to this, and you're just asking because you think everybody else should know the answer. It really doesn't matter if you have an empty stomach, because almost all of the molecules will be absorbed through your mouth. If you just hold them in your mouth for just 30 seconds, swish it around, those molecules get absorbed there. They're pretty much all absorbed by the time anything gets to your stomach. So it doesn't matter about how empty or full your stomach is. It matters about how clean your mouth is. So if you have a piece of broccoli stuck in your teeth, these redox signaling molecules are going to try to repair the cells of the broccoli. And you want the most bang for your buck. So you want it working on your body and not any food that's stuck in your teeth. So, some people say maybe 5 minutes before, after. Maureen Hayes, she's a doctor in our upline. She says, well, just don't wash your meal down with a glass of it, I like to have some as soon as I wake up. And we do have the science that shows, maybe, you figure out what your own sweet spot is. For people who are older, maybe 50 years older or so, their system is quite depleted of the redox signaling molecules, because your mitochondria are making less and less as you age. So maybe you want some more. Usually 8 ounces is kind of the sweet spot for people in that age range. Or if you have a huge health challenge, have more. And then as you get better, this doesn't just help you cope. You're repairing cells. It's helping your cells detect, repair, and replace damaged cells. So then you can taper down. I think I'm getting sidetracked.
Thank you.
Did I answer your question, Barbara?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
In the chat that you could use water to wash it down the paste, and I didn't think that was appropriate.
Couldn't really hear you, but I think you sound happy. Text me if you have any questions, Barbara. I know you have my number. Chris MC. You are muted, Chris. And you're still muted. Cindy, you still have your hand up. Do you have another question, or is your hand up from last time?
From last time.
Okay. Okay. Chris, is there anything I can help you with?
Yeah. Am I unmuted now?
Now, there you go.
Sorry,
No
struggling with
worries.
Two quick questions. We're really new to this. I've had a major health crisis and we're jumping in with both feet. We've had a lot of success, but my whole family's listening. And my mom wants to know if the spray that you gave to the hospice lady, is it the same stuff that's in a blue bottle or just
Oh, yes. Yep. So you can, as an associate, you can buy these spray bottles. I really like them because there's no metal in them. And again, the metal can interact with these molecules and turn them back into salt water. So I love those spray bottles, but you could probably just get one from, local CVS or Walgreens or whatever.
Okay. And the second question that I think I know the answer to, but they all want to hear, why can't you say the word that's synonymous with malignant?
We are very compliant, and the FDA, they really love the pharmaceutical companies, and the pharmaceutical companies do not love us.
That's
We've had
okay. That's what I thought it was, and I was trying to explain it to them, but they wanted to hear you say it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
There
That's-
have been over 30 pharmaceutical companies who have tried to buy ASEA, and their intent was to shut us down because we are competition for everything that they make. We don't have side effects though, and the reason that this is not FDA approved, we did go through that process and there were a lot of studies done, but what the FDA does is they have to determine an LD50. To me, this just doesn't make any sense, but LD50 stands for lethal dose at 50%. They give whatever product they're testing to some animals, or maybe they have some petri dishes of epithelial cells, and they determine at what dose do 50% of those animals die, and then that becomes the LD50. Well, this is 100% non-toxic. This is made by your body. This belongs in your body. There's nothing toxic about it whatsoever. The animals just got healthier and healthier. So the FDA said, we can't approve you. It just doesn't qualify. You guys have to be a supplement. But we're just very careful. We want to protect our company, make sure that everybody can always have this. So we are compliant. We also have to be on the lookout for the FTC. So that's why we are compliant. And, but you know what? It's made in an FDA registered site, and the FDA did have a surprise audit for us not that long ago. And they just kind of moved in and spent a week going through their checklists. I think there were like 2,000 things that they were checking for. We got the highest rating you could ever get. And at the end, the FDA representative said, we're really not supposed to tell you this, but I'm going to say it anyway. You all should be teaching an FDA audit ready class. Like anybody could walk in at any time. We are ready for them because we do everything just so ethically and in such a stellar way. Cindy, do you have another question, or is your hand just still up again?
I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to take,
That's okay. That is okay.
Sorry about that.
One thing I think I should mention for the new people, some people will be like, hey, the ingredients say water and sodium chloride. That's salt water. That's saline solution. Okay, I understand why people might think that, but please know this is not salt water or saline solution. It starts out that way. It starts out as salt water molecules, but then our scientist who figured all of this out, he wanted to start with salt water because he wanted the same building materials that your mitochondria have access to. He wanted this to be completely safe, completely native to your body. Your body's full of salt water. And so he's like, okay, well, if I take some salt water molecules and I break them apart into the individual atoms, so you have the hydrogen, the oxygen, the sodium, and the chloride, then rearrange those atoms and turn them into what your mitochondria make. It's redox signaling molecules. So yes, it does start off as water and just a tiny bit of salt. You have to have the salt in there so that the electrons can be exchanged, and that's how your cells communicate. I use the analogy like diamonds and graphite. They're both made 100% out of carbon atoms, but the way those atoms are arranged, they're completely different products. And another way to explain it is, what if you had a cake that you bought from the grocery store? The ingredients, it doesn't say cake, it says flour and sugar and water and whatever. And then it goes through a baking process. You know, it's this bowl of goo, but then this process happens and it comes out as cake. Same thing with us. It's not the starting ingredients that are miraculous. It's the process that they go through to turn into the redox signaling molecules. So I hope that helps. I'm wondering if Dr. Maureen Hayes is still on here because I saw her. Haha, you're here, Maureen. I see you. Do you want to unmute? Do you have anything that you would like to add?
Hey, Laura.
Hey.
I've been in the background just listening. I think you're doing a fantastic job and did a great job of explaining everything to everybody and staying compliant. You know, I'm sorry, you guys, I was on here. Laura explained that we can't talk about this. You know, the FDA knows about this product. It was under FDA review from the company that was a medical biotech company that initially developed the technology for this, and they were under FDA review to be considered as a new drug. So we have to be very, very careful because we don't want them taking it away from us and making it into a drug where you have to go to your physician and to get it, and it will have one indication. We want this to be available for everybody to use. It's 100% non-toxic. It's incredibly powerful. And the stories that you're hearing, sometimes they seem too good to be true, but I'll tell you what, I've been with this company for almost 12 years now, and I'm always amazed at what the body can do when you give it the right tools to heal itself. So thank you, Laura. Fantastic job.
Oh, thank you. Any other questions, anybody? Anything I can help you with at all? All right, well, I guess we'll call it an evening, and I thank you so much for showing up. And if you're not part of our WhatsApp group and you're on my team, please please join, because it's just a great resource. And I love that people ask questions, and then before I even see the question, it's already been answered by another wonderful person here. It's a beautiful team that we have and a wonderful resource. I see, Karis, you're wondering how to do it. I'll send you the link for that. And I hope you all have a wonderful evening.